Hi everyone, it's Laura here for SugarPea Designs, and in today's video I'm going to share with you how to create a cute birthday card. To start off this card, I die cut some yellow cardstock using the rectangle die in the Card Front Element Builder 2 dies by SugarPea Designs. This was new with the April 2019 release and will allow you to create a lot of different designs on your cards. And then I die cut some light brown cardstock using the honeycomb cover plate. This was also new with the April 2019 release and it's a really fun cover plate die. I poked out all those hexagons that the die cuts off the center of the plate, and then I'm going to basically use just this frame. This will add some interest to the background without taking too much attention away from the focal points. And to add another element to the background, I die cut some Bristol Smooth cardstock using the tag die in the Card Front Element Builder 2 dies. And I'm going to add some shading with Distress ink in Tumbled Glass first, and then in Salty Ocean because I wanted to have a little bit of a more intense blue just on the edges of the tag. I am blending everything with my mini foam blenders, and then I can go ahead and start working on my images. The stamp set I'll be using today is the Hey Honey stamp set, and it's absolutely adorable. I am in awe of this cute little bear, and I was really happy to use it on my card today and to color it up. The set comes with stamps that will also allow you to create some bees. So I'm stamping first the body of the bees with Distress Oxide in Mustard Seed. And then I'm going to use the second part of the layering stamps to stamp the body and the wings of the bees, right on top of where I had done my stamping. You have different positions for the bees, so you have them facing left or right for the smaller ones and also front facing. And after I was done stamping, I started coloring the images. The paper I'm using is Nina Solar White 110 pounds cardstock, and for my coloring today I will be using Spectrum Noir markers. I started by coloring the beehive, and I colored the entire surface with CT2. This is because I wanted to create the equivalent of an underpainting with watercoloring. So I wanted to have that yellow base on my beehive, so that when I go over it with the other markers that I chose, I will tone them a little bit towards a more yellow color. After I was done putting down the first coat, I went in with my GY1 marker, which will be my highlight color, and I blocked in the shadow areas. I then went in with my mid-tone marker, which is the GY2 marker, and I went right over the areas that I had just colored with my highlight marker and extended them and adjusted the shape of my shadows a little bit. And finally, I went in with my darkest marker, which is the GY4 marker, and I deepened my shadows. So the way I'm coloring today is I'm going from lightest to darkest and then back to lightest. So once I'm done filling in the shadows with my darkest marker, I'm going to blend everything out with my mid-tone first and with my highlight then. And I'm adding the shadows as if the light was coming from the right portion of the screen, so that the lightest part of the beehive is the one on the right. And after I was done shading, I went back once more with that CT2 marker, which is going to give my beehive a bit more of a yellow appearance. For the stem and the leaves, I used DG3, YG2 and CG1. In this case, because the area was so small, I started directly with my darkest marker, so I laid it down in the areas that I thought would be darkest. I blended it out with my mid-tone, and finally I blended everything out with the highlight marker. And I went back in with a second layer to make sure that I got a nice and smooth blend. For the bear, I'm going to use TN9, TN5 and TN3 for his face. And because this is quite a large area, I had to go over the bear a couple of times with my markers to get rid of any streaks and any lines. But I'm going step by step, so I'm first laying down the shadows on the left side of the bear, because again our light source is on the right side of the screen. I'm then blending them out with my mid-tone marker, which is the TN5, and I'm leaving some space to fill in the highlights with my TN3 marker. Once I'm done with the first layer of color, I'm going in with a second one. And this way I'm going to saturate the paper a little bit, and this will make it easier for the markers to blend. And this also allows me to get rid of those streak marks that I had left with my first layer of color. And I also wanted to draw your attention to the fact that I am not only adding the shadows to the left portion of the bear, but also around his muzzle, because that's protruding with respect to the rest of his face, and so it will cast a shadow on the face itself. For the muzzle, I am using TN3, TN2 and TN1. I'm adding TN3 to the areas that I think will be the darkest, so the one on the left side of the muzzle and right under the nose. I'm blending that out with the TN2 marker, again trying to saturate the paper a little bit in order to have a nicer blend. And finally, I'm going to fill in my highlights with my TN1 marker. For the nose, I went for some really dark browns, and I used EB8, EB5 and TN9. And I'm also leaving a small white highlight so that it looks like the nose is shiny. I quickly added some shading to the wings of the bees using TN1 and TN2. And then once I was done coloring, I used the matching dies to die cut all my images out. I am securing them to the paper using some washi tape, and then I can run them through my die cutting machine. And here are all the images once the die cutting is done. At this point, I could go ahead and start assembling my card. I am using Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to put down some glue on the sides of my honeycomb die cut, and I'm also adding the glue sort of where the hexagons intersect. And I'm adding just a few dots and not covering the entire back of this cover plate die cut, because this amount of glue, together with the images that will be adhering in a little bit, will be sufficient to keep this cover plate die cut nicely secured on the card background. For the sentiment, I die cut a banner using another die from the Card Front Element Builder 2 die set by SugarPea Designs, and I used some black ink to stamp the sentiment on the right portion of the banner. I glued that to the bottom of my card front, and then I layered the bear on top of it. And to draw a little bit more attention towards the bear and make it the focal point for this card, I raised it over one layer of foam tape. I then adhered the tag sort of opposite to the bear at an angle, again to create some interest on the card, and then I adhered the bees and the beehive, and I raised one of the bees and the beehive too over one layer of foam tape. I mounted everything on a top folding A2 card cut at 4 1/4 by 11 inches and scored at 5 1/2 inches. And then I decided to add a few more details to the bear. I used my CR2 marker to draw in some rosy cheeks, and I added some dots to the cheeks with a white Jelly Roll pen. That's a Sakura number 10 Jelly Roll pen. And lastly, I coated its nose with glossy accents, and then I left everything aside to dry. And here is the finished result. I really love the way this card turned out, and this bear is absolutely adorable. And that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video and I hope I inspired you to create with these cute stamps by SugarPea Designs. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiration. Thank you all so much for stopping by and have a great day.